go ahead and we'll make a new title page and all that good stuff. And yes, Maggie, thank you. Okay, so you can title this Washington and Adams, Chapter 6.162, or the Presidency of, whatever suits you, okay? Title at the top of the handout packet. Okay, let's get right to it. So we'll take a look up at the screen here. Maybe not. There we go. Okay, so you figure out how you want to do it. Chapter 6. I'm not too worried about the number of the chapter. It's more the content that matters. But pointing that out for you so that you can find it in the textbook makes it a little easier for you. I understand all that. Okay, so what you're looking at is obviously a picture of Washington's home. Don't forget Lafayette stayed there. You know I had to point that out. Okay, next item of business. What's the name of Washington's home? Amy. That is Mount Vernon. Beautiful place. It's about 500 acres. Well into, I'm going to say, well into the late 1700s, getting into the early 1800s. It was the biggest home in America. Okay, biggest estate. That is Mount Vernon. Beautiful place to go see if you have a chance. Recommend it. Obviously, you guessed it, a lot of history going on there. Okay, and I put the assignments on there. We'll go over those, and those are the list of videos. Okay, let's take a look at your handout packet. Go ahead and hit the light, Sarah. We'll turn it back on. Let's go over these together. Okay, let's go over these answers together. So, in the first, government of the Constitution, important new institutions included a cabinet system, a system of federal courts, and a national what? Bank. National Bank. You got to know that. And right off the bat, let's understand that is whose idea? Not Washington. Hamilton. Yes, Hamilton. Go with Hamilton. What gradually developed? Different views, different factions, and make sure you have that leads to what? Political parties, which sometimes aren't much of a party, are they? Make sure you know right off the bat also something there about political parties. Washington said not to do it. How'd we do? Yeah. Why? Why did political parties evolve? What do you got there? Gracie, what do you got? Yes, and especially from the Northeast to the West to the South. Okay, especially. Now, understand this new word, precedent. That's not a misspelling of the word president. Okay, let's get that straight right off the bat. Precedent means a new idea which is used by many people afterwards, and it becomes a standard practice. So if Aiden comes in here wearing his shirt inside out and backwards, everybody's going to do it the next day. Right, Gracie? He's setting a precedent. We're all going to follow it. Okay. Well, let's assume you would. So what you have there is the first president, and he's going to set a lot of precedents, not to confuse you on that. Okay, so let's read what a precedent is. Bryson, go ahead.
Precedent means a new idea which is used by many people afterwards and becomes a standard practice. Also precedent for the national government which emerged with Washington as president. Do you want me to answer that?
Please.
I did not have that.
Georgia.
Presidential cabinet.
Established a cabinet, yes. And that did become part of the Constitution. I also, anybody have any others? Add this to the oath of office. He added, so help me God. He added, so help me God. You could make an argument that he set the 2-term limit as president, even though it did not come until much later when after Franklin Roosevelt was president. How many terms was Franklin Roosevelt elected to? Anybody know? 4. He died in his 4th term. He was elected 4 times. After that, in 1950, it changed. But Washington said after 2 terms, I'm done. He could have run again, but he didn't. So help me God. Presidential cabinet. Okay. What was one of the many cautions of Washington? Who's got that one? Amy. Yes. He called them entangling alliances. Against foreign involvement? Yes. What's going on in that picture? Did anybody get that? What's going on in the picture? Gracie. Say it again. Yes, absolutely. Why do you think? Anybody have anything else to add there? What do you think? Amy? Just because I saw you move there, kind of. But did you see all the people in the background saying, wow, the first president, there he is, wow. Aiden, could you imagine if he would have smiled in that picture? Might be a whole different portrait, wouldn't it? That's something to think about right off the bat, okay? Okay, 210. What was Washington's task facing the newly elected Congress? Jesse, what do you got?
To take the words of the Constitution and turn them into an effective government.
Yes. I'm sorry I cut you off.
I just had it for the United States.
Yep. Effective government, put it into action. Yes. Organize, handle the different responsibilities. Okay. What cabinet positions were created in 1789 by Congress? How many cabinet secretaries served in Washington's cabinet? What do you got there? Sarah?
I didn't get all of this, but he had 4 different cabinet members. So there's the Secretary of Treasury, State. Those are the only things I got.
Okay, who was Secretary of State, everybody?
Thomas Jefferson.
Make sure you know right off the bat that was the first cabinet position created. Who was the Secretary of the Treasury? Hamilton, yes. $10 bill guy. How about Attorney General?
Edmund Randolph.
Edmund Randolph, yes. And the Secretary of War?
Henry Knox.
Henry Knox, Knox. Have you ever heard of Fort Knox, where all the nation's gold is kept secretly hidden? It's the worst kept secret ever. Okay, talk more about that in a minute. Washington chose several federal judges, including John
Jay.
as the first Chief Justice. What was one of the most important acts of the first Congress?
Bill of Rights.
Adopting the Bill of Rights. Who wrote the document? What year did the Bill of Rights go into effect?
1791.
Keep in mind, Washington was elected in 1790, so he had been president 1 year before. What was the government's most pressing need? Revenue, finances, and you can bet Hamilton is going to play a huge role in that. Okay, moving right along up to the screen then, a couple more things, and we're going to move on from there. George Washington, obviously we know that. What's the name of his wife? Martha. He called her Patsy. That's nice. Okay. I will not test you on this whatsoever, but I'm just pointing that out there. He's born in 1732, and he was unanimously elected as president. He was unanimously elected as president. Now, there was also one other one, which I would argue. James Monroe was actually unanimously elected also, but the difference was there were some that voted for none of the above when he ran. So some didn't vote for him. So technically he wasn't unanimous. Technically the only one ever unanimously elected was George Washington. Throwing that out there, if you're on Jeopardy, Bryson, then you're able to handle that answer. Okay? Good. You feel empowered now?
I suppose.
That's the attitude we want. 1789, he served to 1797. So he served 2 terms as president, 2 8-year terms. Why do I have 1799 up there? Anybody want to take a shot at it? Good. Yeah. Yes, that's the year he died. See, when he left office, he was looking forward to a long retirement, etc. When the war was over, that's not funny. When the war was over, he was looking for a long retirement then also. Mount Vernon, there you can see it. Once again, pretty cool. Okay, essential question. Not really an essential question, more of a critical thinking question. Washington said, and I do want you to know this phrase, power is best given to those who crave it the least. Power is best given to those who crave it the least. Now, let me just tell you something. If there was a guy that did not crave power, it was certainly Washington. What does that mean? Power is best given to those who crave it the least. Evelyn.
If you crave power a lot, you'll probably, if you get power, you'll probably abuse it for your own gain. But if you don't want it, then hopefully you won't go into it with a bad mindset. You'll use it to help other people.
Okay, very good. Very good, yes. I think we all agree. Okay, we're just going to read this. Obviously, this is on elementary level. This is about the teeth. Jesse, please.
George Washington was plagued throughout his adult life with bad teeth, losing about one tooth a year from the age of 24. None of his false teeth were made of wood.
Okay. Where did Washington serve as president? This is something I want you to know. Where did Washington serve as president? Good, Aiden.
Philadelphia.
He did not. John Adams did. No. Anybody else? New York, yes. He served in Federal Hall, New York. Washington, D.C. was not built yet. It was a swamp. This building is right down the street from where the World Trade Center stood, where the Freedom Towers are. On April 30th, 1789, George Washington, standing on the balcony of Federal Hall on Wall Street in New York, took his oath of office as the first president of the United States. Federal Hall, New York. I do want you to know that. Federal Hall, New York City. The only U.S. president that served in New York City. The only president who served in New York City. Okay, you can take a look here. If you take a look at the left side, okay, the birthplace of American government, Federal Hall, New York, you see where the World Trade Center stood, and then right down the street is Federal Hall. That's where he served as governor. Okay? New York was huge, it was big. That's why Wall Street is still there, okay? And that's, of course, why the World Trade Centers were there. New York's huge. Okay? So I do want you to be aware of that. Federal Hall, New York City. Okay, once again, then, Washington Secretary of State, everybody. Jefferson. Make sure you note that was the first cabinet position ever created. That was the first cabinet position ever created. Secretary of State. Actually, although I'm not 100%, I'd have to look this up myself, but I think that those are up there in order in which they were created. Okay? Somebody Google real quick, how many cabinet positions are there today? If you use your phone, that's fine. How many does Biden have today? And I'm going to ask you this question. What was the most recent cabinet position created? I do want you to know that.
Looks like there's 15 today.
I agree. What was the most recent cabinet position created? Does anybody know? Secretary of State was first.
Department of Homeland Security.
Yes, Department of Homeland Security. Created in 2001 after the September 11th attacks. I do want you to know that. The Department of Homeland Security is the most recent. Washington's cabinet has been said to be the all-star cabinet. Obviously, some extremely famous Americans there. This has been said to be the best cabinet ever. Obviously, that is arguable, as in everything's arguable. But just throwing that out there. Washington's all-star cabinet. Okay, the problem, as we just said at the end of your handout, by the end of 1789, the American government was up and running, but it had no money. It had no money. Who had the power to tax? Nobody else. Hey,
It was still the states, right?
yes, still the states. Now, the federal government can tax, but there was no system to do it. There was no income tax yet. That doesn't come along until 1900s. So the federal government is broke. That's the problem. Enter to our conversation this man, Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of the Treasury. Helped write the Federalist Papers. You can bet, yes, he is a strong Federalist. All about federal government. Hamilton has a plan. Now, he can't be president. He most certainly wanted to. But he moved quickly and often controversially. Boy, did he ever. Anybody see the musical? Boy, did he ever. He was a controversial figure. No two ways about it. But he wants to give the United States government a modern financial system. All right, go into Canvas. Might take a minute to load the videos. What I want you to do is scroll down to military career, watch the video above it, and right here, and scroll down then to politics and government and watch the video above that. Okay? Now you're welcome to read the text also, but go ahead and do that. My hope is that they will load. So let it play out. That's okay. Biography.
Your visa.
People forget that part, that he was a soldier in the Revolution. Okay, don't rush, but some of you are finished. Scroll down to the heading Politics and Government and watch the video above that one. Make sure you pause the first one or you'll have a little play at the same time. You got it.
It's just stubborn.
No. Okay, some of you got to the videos. I realize that can be a little troublesome when they don't want to load. Let's take a look up at the screen then. Let's talk a little bit more about this guy. Evelyn, please.
A crucial player in the creation and ratification of the Constitution, few Americans have played an equal or more vital role in the development of both this country's government or financial institutions. For this, Hamilton is one of only two non-presidential figures on a major U.S. currency.
What denomination is Hamilton on, everybody?
$10 bill.
$10 bill. Who is the only other non-president? Nobody knows.
Franklin.
Franklin's on the 100. Yes, Franklin is on the 100. Now, why are we talking about Hamilton, even though the president is Washington? Because Hamilton plays a critical role. All right, so let's talk about this. What is Hamilton's first plan to finance the government? You got to know this. His plan to finance the government is not income taxes. That doesn't happen until later. Not until the 16th Amendment is actually passed. Hamilton's plan. Number one, he wants a tariff. He wants a tariff. Anybody know what a tariff is? What's a tariff? Glad I asked. What is a tariff? Amy.
I'm gonna guess it's like a tax.
It is like a tax, yes. It is not an income tax. It's not a sales tax. Go ahead. Bingo. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. So what happens to the price of the good coming into the country? It goes up. Is that good or bad? I want you to think about this. Is that good or bad? Should you raise the cost of prices coming into the country? Should you raise the cost, which raises the price of goods coming in? What do you think, Abe?
Yes and no.
Okay. What's a good thing about a tariff then? Why a yes vote? Amy.
Because then you can get funds from other countries.
Okay, it's an easy tax to collect. You're collecting money from other countries, yeah. You want to sell your tea here, then you pay the tax. Okay. What's another reason why it's good? What's another reason? Go ahead.
It can help to get country out of debt.
Okay, yeah, that's going to get us out of debt. Good. There's another big reason. Think about you own a company here in the United States, and they're going to put a higher tax, and which will make a higher cost, on a good coming into the country. Why is it a good thing? Go ahead.
People want to buy goods that are made in the country.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now, why is it bad? Why is it a bad thing? And I'm going to tell you, we're not going to solve this in the next 4 minutes because people have debated tariffs ever since Hamilton devised the plan, ever since the Trade and Navigation Act, which was a tariff. Go ahead.
Because then the people might not want to buy stuff from the other countries because it costs more.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
The other countries might not want to bring goods to America because it costs money.
And they might not import our goods. Simply put, it raises the cost. So the buyer has to pay more. Now, historically, I want you to know this. Historically, Republicans, think of Republicans have raised tariffs. Donald Trump was big on tariffs. Big time. In some cases, 50%. Democrats lower tariffs. Okay. Well, economic differences in the North and South. Well, if you're doing a lot of manufacturing and things like that, and you have a company, let's say you have a company that's manufacturing doors, you're probably a big fan of tariffs because you don't want doors coming in from another country. But if your main product is agriculture and you're trying to sell your goods over in another country, now you might think it's not such a good thing because now it's costing you more to ship your goods over. So let's take a look at this. Economic differences between the North and the South. The North was focused on manufacturing. So would they be in favor of a tariff or not? What do you think, Bryson?
Yeah.
Yes. Manufacturers consider to hold the most power and influence, so they're big on tariffs. The South was farming and agricultural. Think of this term, agrarianism. We'll talk about that more so. The farmers were considered to have the power. Now you got to know this difference here. North manufacturing, South agricultural. And this is going to play into should we have tariffs or not. Okay, let's pause here. Go to Canvas, please. Take a look at the assignments. Okay. Now, notice how I have that organized. They will be due in this order. I don't like not giving you complete dates, but I can't do that until I saw if we had to go over the test, if there were questions, issues with the iPads, things like that. Okay, so Jay's Treaty, Pinckney's Treaty, Treaty of Grenville, and Washington's Farewell. Friday. Okay, Friday. Sedition Acts we're looking at Monday, Tuesday. And I'm hoping to get the test in Wednesday, and then we're done for break. Okay? You guys aren't looking at this. Everybody see what I'm talking about? Okay? So it'll be Jay's, Pinckney, Greenville. It's actually Greenville. I missed the E. Washington's Farewell. 4 for Friday, 1 Monday, Tuesday, we'll let you know. Test Wednesday. Okay?
I have a training from 6 to 8.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Have a good day.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention?
How you doing?
This is Burion's class. Report to the cafeteria. This is Burion's class. This is cafeteria.
Don't know my stuff is.
Grab a new handout over here. Grab a book out of the back. Oh. Well, then what are you missing?
Oh my.
Well, that doesn't matter. History's the only thing that matters.
Yes, how I was
May I
doing.
go to the bathroom?
Sure. Do you have your history stuff?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Good.
May I go to the restroom?
Sure.
I go quickly.
Go ahead. Thank you, Clint. Clint. Sorry. I apologize. Ethan, speaking of getting everything done, do you have a pencil?
Actually, yeah, I do have a
That's good.
That's surprising.
I have to take care of you.
Not good.
Hey, whatever you got to do. There's a bell ringer there. Go for it. Short video. Work on the handout.